In December 2025, the global economy crossed a milestone that few predicted would arrive so soon. Without a formal announcement, without market celebrations, and without political ceremony, one of the most consequential records in modern economic history was quietly set. China's trade surplus, the difference between the value of what a nation exports and what it imports, surpassed $1 trillion for the first time. This moment did not occur during an era of cooperation or open markets. It happened amid renewed tariff pressure from the United States, driven by policies reintroduced under President Donald Trump's administration. For years, tariffs were positioned as an economic weapon, a tool designed to weaken China's export machine, protect domestic industries, and rebalance global trade. Yet instead of shrinking, China's surplus expanded. Today, China commands 31% of global manufacturing output, despite representing just 18% of global GDP. At the same time, other economies are showing signs of stress. In India, the rupee has fallen to 90.21 against the US dollar, its weakest level on record. A trade surplus reflects economic competitiveness, industrial capacity, and a country's position within global supply chains. China has maintained a surplus for decades, but the scale achieved in 2025 represents something fundamentally different. Crossing the $1 trillion threshold is not the result of a single policy or short-term event. It reflects long-term structural advantages, manufacturing depth, logistics efficiency, and strategic trade positioning. Throughout 2025, Chinese exports expanded beyond traditional Western markets. Trade volumes surged across Southeast Asia, Africa, the Middle East, and Latin America. At the same time, imports grew at a slower pace, widening the surplus further. This imbalance illustrates how China has transitioned from being merely the world's factory to becoming a central node in global trade networks. Tariffs have long been used as a political and economic tool, a way to protect domestic industries or pressure foreign competitors. Under the Trump administration, tariffs returned as a central pillar of U.S. trade policy. Reciprocal tariffs were framed as a corrective measure, intended to punish unfair trade practices and force manufacturing back to American soil. But tariffs operate within a global system far more complex than political messaging suggests. A tariff is not paid by the exporter. It is paid by the importer and passed down through supply chains. This distinction would prove critical. China's response to tariffs was strategic rather than reactive. Instead of retreating, manufacturers adapted. They absorbed costs through scale, streamlined production, diversified export destinations, and restructured supply chains to minimize exposure. Some firms shifted final assembly to tariff-neutral regions. Others renegotiated contracts or leveraged state-supported logistics networks. But above all, China relied on something no other country possesses at the same level: manufacturing scale. Scale allows costs to be spread, margins to be protected, and pressure to be absorbed. Tariffs raise prices, scale reduces their impact. China now produces nearly 1/3 of all manufactured goods worldwide. This dominance spans industries critical to modern economies: electronics, automotive components, renewable energy, industrial machinery, and consumer goods. Yet China represents only about 18% of global GDP. This imbalance reveals the nature of modern economic power. Manufacturing dominance creates leverage. It determines pricing, supply stability, and trade resilience. Countries that control production control outcomes. Tariffs were marketed as a cost imposed on China. In practice, the economic burden shifted inward. Importers paid higher costs, retailers adjusted prices, consumers absorbed the difference. For many U.S. businesses, replacing Chinese suppliers proved costly, inefficient, or impossible. China adjusted its strategy. The American consumer paid the price. While China strengthened its trade position, other economies faced mounting pressure. In December 2025, the Indian rupee fell to 90.21 against the US dollar, marking its lowest level on record. A weakening currency increases import costs, fuels inflation, and strains foreign reserves. It also reflects broader challenges in trade competitiveness and capital flows. India's experience underscores how global trade shocks disproportionately affect emerging economies. China's trillion-dollar surplus is not just a national achievement. It signals a shift toward a multipolar global economy, one where power is distributed across regions rather than concentrated in a single system. Supply chains are becoming regional, resilient, and strategic. Trade wars are no longer about outright victory, but about endurance and adaptation. The future of U.S.-China relations will not be defined by separation, Complete economic decoupling is costly, disruptive, and unrealistic. Instead, selective disengagement, strategic competition, and managed interdependence will define the next phase. Both economies remain deeply connected, even amid rivalry. For deeper analysis, expert insights, and ongoing coverage of global economics, visit nexusinsight.org. Subscribe.